It's always nice to have Crystal with us, managing our pennies and for some cents. But anyway, we say, Crystal, good morning.
Good morning.
Now, this morning, what aspect of managing our pennies are we looking at?
Well, over the past few sessions, we've been looking at so many different aspects
Right.
outside of just the finance, which we will get to in detail, but I want to make sure that when persons are going into their ventures, that they take all of these things into consideration because we often focus on what we're good at and then we leave out all the other parts of business that are critical to making sure that our ventures flow as smoothly as possible and make as much money for us as possible. So the area that we're going to be looking at this morning will be both marketing and customer complaints, which are two separate areas, but they go hand in hand so often that there will be times when we're touching on both sides of the coin.
Right. Now, people tend to think of marketing solely, sorry, it's early morning, solely as commercials, social media, setting out blasts, that sort of thing. But word of mouth
Is so very
is
important,
so critical.
which you can see already the relationship with customer complaints because many persons are so focused on making sure they get the word out there, they don't track or analyze the customers that they've lost, and then you keep going through these marketing efforts and you bring in more persons to just have the same things happening to these persons all over again, and then you wonder why your business keeps having these highs and lows, and then eventually it just plateaus into these lows. So analyzing your customer complaints is as critical as having your marketing campaigns to bring new business in because you want to keep and retain these persons. And that is what we'll be focusing on today.
All right. Well, go ahead. It's
So
all yours.
yes, you would have touched on some of the more critical areas in the marketing aspect where persons have to choose between what some would say is traditional media and social media. So many persons are familiar with, of course, CBC being one of your traditional media options. You have your print media and all these other things that persons would traditionally go into, which are very important. You have an established and respected audience. Persons see CBC and the other print media as sources that they can trust for information. But then when we get to social media now, you have that area where for some person who is now trying to break into the market, their finances may not be to the level where they can afford these other means. Social media has become one of the very affordable options to still get the word out there and to let persons know what you're all about. But regardless of which medium you choose, you have to make sure that your marketing campaign speaks to your values as an entrepreneur. What is it that you want to present? And everybody does not have to present the same image, but you have to make sure that you're going to be following through your entire campaign. It presents a picture of who you are so that it does not come off as false advertising.
Now, the thing about social media that some people tend to forget is that your customer base, their complaints are very visible
Yes, they are.
and very immediate.
Yes. We've actually had a lot of persons or a lot of entities getting solely into making sure they have someone to manage these customer complaints
Exactly.
because the impact of it can be so immediate that if you leave it alone, you can have untold damage to your business without even realizing the impact before it's too late. So there are persons dedicated to monitoring social media, addressing these complaints. I don't always like to single out persons, but I find Shafat is very good at monitoring complaints, having some person there with sometimes it seems like a standard way of being able to address it, and always looking to have immediate remedial action so that persons can be assuaded quickly and to make sure that this customer still has a satisfying experience even though they would have had, that mishap or whatever the case may be.
And important in the sense that you also offer them something
Yes, which
to, assuage all of those problems or that particular problem that they might have had.
Yes, and you have to make sure that whoever is in charge of your social media is aware of what they can offer, because you don't want a situation where the customer is being aggressive or they're very upset and you offer something that you cannot follow through on, because then they'll come back.
Okay. Time just seems to just fly so quickly. But Crystal will be back on Monday, and I'm sure she's going to continue with this because there's so much more to this whole topic of customer satisfaction than we've just touched on. We've just barely scratched the surface. Thank you very much, Crystal.